Here we have the Autoterm Air 2D with the Volkswagen transporter mounting bracket. My van is the T5.1. I think it also fits the T5 through to the T6.1. This is the original mounting bracket that Autoterm offer for external mounting of the heater. And what I've done here is set up most of the parts prior to installing it onto the van to make it easier to access everything and set everything up without getting underneath the van. I'll go through some of the parts that we've put on. Here you can see from the air intake end and how I've mounted it first. First I've put the fuel pump here because there's a little tab here that gets in, and in order to access that you need to put the bolt through this first before you mount on the heater, otherwise you're going to have a bit of a hard time getting that bolt through. And then once you've mounted the bolt, you can put the heater straight on with the rubber spacer in the middle, so you've got a little bit of a gap here, and then just tying it up on the other side. Everything I've done is finger tight now, and when I go down to the van I'm gonna tighten everything after I've checked it. You want to make sure that you can only fit it one way on this because the fuel pipe sits in a certain place, but you want to have the cables coming out of the top. After you've mounted the heater to the base plate, you can go ahead and add the rest of the fuel pump. You have the attachment that goes in this rubber here. You can put the bolt and tie it up there. This is going to be angled at 0 to 5 degrees, so as low as possible once it goes on the van, because it's the TH11 model. And then you can add the pipe here. Those are the electric cable, which is separate plugs, and then you want to put the red in number 1 and the black cable in number 2 and click everything together. That's also shown on a lot of the other videos. Then we can go ahead and put the rest of the line in, and I've just routed it around here. A short piece, about 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters maybe, so it goes in, and then you can tighten all that up. I then chose to mount the intake pipe low down here. I've seen a few people in Germany with the Tiger X bed. They mount it around and then up, and then on the flat ones there's also people that wrap it around and then mount it to the chassis down there. But I'm going to try and mount it this way, because if you mount it up, there's a risk that you get the condensation and then the water in it, so you need to drill a hole on the lowest point, whereas this always goes down. And it fits quite nicely here. You've got a little bolt with the attachment which you can attach there, and hopefully there's going to be space under the van so that fits, and we'll do a little check when we get to the van. And then you've got the little clamp here that you just tighten up, and everything's pretty easy to tighten and adjust whilst it's off the van. Otherwise, yeah, and then there's some other tabs here, so just on this tab up here, just put a little zip tie to keep this cable nice and in check. I did think about installing the exhaust silencer on here or here, but it seemed like the distance between the exhaust outtake on the heater and the silencer was a bit too tight to run the exhaust pipe. But that's about everything. Everything just needs tightening up, and then we'll go down to the van and get it hooked up. So we have the two big wide holes here, and then we have some little holes there. And I was gonna try and get the bolts through the big holes and down into the little one. I'm just not quite sure how to do that. There we go. Right, here we have a little bit of cable and the bolt on the top. I'm going to try and fish it through this big hole into the little hole. Should work, hopefully. Oh yes, there we go. Now we just got to hope that we can get this through and it doesn't detach. Easy. There we go. I can just remove the electrical tape. And then we should be able to just slide on the heater. Oh, that's solid. We gotta get the other one on the other side. There you go. Quick resupply stuff. We're gonna attach the fuel line to the current Webasto thermotop. So we got a 5mm piece here and some self-tapping screws that's gonna go on one side, and then we're gonna fish in the bolts for this side with some wire and try and get them to match up. So now we hopefully can just line these bolts up with the heater. Would probably help if we had two pairs of hands here, but we don't, so we're just going to line them up. Make sure all the cables go up in this hole and hold it steady and try not to push the bolts in. If we get one of them on, like that, then we can just tighten that up. This would really help with two hands. Right, back to business. There we go. And all we've got to do now is squeeze that on like that. Oh fuck, I dropped the ball again. Oh, that was probably way too high. Would be better to use some kind of pop nut, but we didn't have a pop nut, so fishing was our best option. Right, so we've done a bit of a change here. We're actually gonna mount the silencer here. Right, so here we changed up a bit. We mounted the silencer on this top mount part of the bracket on a slight angle, so it clears and you've got loads of space underneath for the intake. Mounted, it's a really short piece here, but if you put all the pieces on first, then tighten everything down so it's all one piece, you can attach the exhaust onto the heater and then bend it and attach it up here on the bracket, and it works pretty well. And then we're just going around through this hole, standard hole, and then bend it out, and we'll just mount that up there somewhere so it doesn't dangle about. Here we have the T-piece with the fuel line out, and then one connection for the Webasto, and then the other end's gonna connect into the pipe on the Webasto heater, take the fuel from there. Let's try and install that. Here you can see the Webasto. This is the original fuel line that goes across. Now we have put the T-piece here just before the pump there, and we'll just thread this all the way across to the other side where the pump for the new heater is. Here you can see the final installation. Up here we have mounted the exhaust output to the van's exhaust, which is also mounted higher, and then on the lower tab we've put the exhaust intake. Fuel line wraps around and goes up on that side. And now we're going to see if everything works before we screw the holes in the step and the B-pillar for the in and outtake. Good day to test if it works. It's 0 degrees outside. Here we've mounted the control panel. As you can see, it's 6 degrees. And if we just click once, heating, we can put it on power mode, full power, for 30 minutes. And the first few times you'll hear the pump drawing quite hard. I had some air in the fuel line, so I had to prime 2 times, switching on and off before I actually poured the fuel. There you can hear the fuel pump ticking away, but now it's primed, so it should work. Blowing the air out. And almost straight away it's starting to get warm. Now it's blowing warm there. So it is working. In the next video we can cut some holes in the van. We're going to do the B-pillar and footstep, and then it's all ready. Here you can see the exhaust working. It's a bit smoky on first startup. It's also cold outside, so that might be something to do with it.
but the whole system's working. Thanks for watching the video, hope this helped some people. First install of the Autoterm diesel heater in the Volkswagen Transporter.